What time it is? Hit the horn. It is the best hour of your week. It is tipping points and puzzle pieces. We're so glad that you can join us. I just need to make sure that we're going well because I hit the live button and it took like 30 seconds to register live. So I'm like, are we live? I believe we are. So excited to be here on another day, another week with you. Hopefully, as usual, you will gain a lot of insight from our conversation and you'll take away some really good things from that conversation. But as always, I don't do this alone, right? Sometimes I'm not even here and that person does it alone. Let me go ahead and bring forward Mark Boatwright Frost.
So I think there's a saying that says, always alone, but never lonely.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Always alone, never lonely. I'll have to think about that.
But
Interesting.
never alone and sometimes wanting to be lonely. I don't know.
I guess that can be a truth for sure.
Yeah.
How are you
Anyway,
doing?
good. And that's actually interesting because today's topic is how to grow a community.
Ooh, all right.
And so we're going to be talking about what we do and what we are doing and how it all fits together into growing a community so people understand how this all fits together because sometimes you have to be really blunt and I am a person who likes to do subtle statements that tell a story,
Mhm.
but sometimes a hammer is better. So we're going to talk about building community and hey Kendra and how that works. So I'd like you to bring up the Kitsap Resiliency Project page because I know you don't have a lot of time. Hand pink waving. Okay. So Kendra and Terry are joining us right now. And Marwan's bringing up the Kitsap Resiliency Project page.
Hey, Kendra. Hey, Terry.
Okay, so we've been posting a lot of stuff recently because, as you know, we have started working toward putting a garden together for Matthew. And I'm doing a little bit of education for myself as well as the Kitsap Resiliency Project page. So you see the one here, some information on sheet mulching, because we're about to start a sheet mulching project in Matthew's yard. Now, Matthew's got somewhere between, I think, 124 square feet of front yard that is largely overgrown and needs to be brought down to something to growable soil. And it's largely overgrown on purpose. He's been letting it go for a while, so there's no chemicals in the ground. There's no chemicals. There's no real work that's been done on it. And now we're going to bring that soil back into a place of real health and natural health, so that next spring we can start growing some amazing fruit for the community and vegetables for the community produce. So sheet mulching is one of the things that we're going to be doing, and it apparently is essentially putting wet cardboard on the ground and letting it mulch into the ground. It basically takes all of the um, plants and everything and mulches them, turns them into a healthy mush going into the ground. But before we get there, if you can go down a little bit to a post calling itself a shitty day, go past this a little bit further. That's your barbecue. You want to stop there for a second?
Yeah, sure.
This last weekend, Marwan hosted a block party at his house and shared food with all of his neighborhood and the students who live in the housing down the street from his house. And these are some pictures of the crowd that was there. And actually, I was a little late taking the pictures. There was a larger crowd earlier.
Well, for
But
those of you that don't know, I live basically right next to Olympic College, and I live on a road where behind me and off to the side is the residence hall for Olympic College. So the international students, the athletes, and some folks that live here in town all live there. I think there's 80 something students there. And so they walk past my house every day back and forth to go to school or to sports or wherever they're going. And so this is the second year we've done a barbecue. And this gave an opportunity for people to come out, one, and build community, right? That's important to keep that going. And folks are so very thankful, even if they couldn't come and they had other plans. They were like, "Oh man, you're doing it again. That's awesome. I wish I could be there. I'm not going to be there, but we really appreciate you doing this." And it was also an opportunity for me to talk with local residents as to what's important to them and their city and the district. And college students can oftentimes be overlooked in that.
Even though they are going to be one of the strongest voting voices in the next election.
Well, true story.
So one of the things I said when I posted this is it was a great block party and everything else, and seeds of resilient community were planted. And that's how we do this, and that's how we build community. So this teaser for the rest of the show.
And as we scroll down, Mark,
Yeah.
in the top picture, you'll see Rich with the purple shirt with the yellow words on it.
Yep.
And the person behind him is one of my former students at Olympic College. So part of community in the way that I see community, because you can define it in so many different ways, is building those relationships that kind of stand the test of time. So
Absolutely.
hey, I'm gonna go to my professor's barbecue, which is pretty awesome. So shout out to her. And then, of course, Rob was one of my former students at Olympic College also.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is just a shout out to the people, and I'm not going to go through all of the pictures on here, but I posted this weekend. Just a reminder that Cups Cafe on Pacific, 409 Pacific at 4th Street is an amazing place to go. The people there are awesome. The coffee is really good. Their food is good. And they allow us to host the meet and greets there every Saturday morning. And now our board meetings are hosted there too.
Yeah, they have some pretty delicious desserts.
Mm-hmm. And they're just really good people.
Friendly staff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Friendly staff.
And last weekend they were playing R&B, and it was just awesome.
They were, weren't they?
Yeah, old school R&B.
Yeah, and if you guys missed it, I made one of my rare appearances.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yes, he was, and we got a lot of stuff done that on Saturday. I had to spend 2 days processing it. So, for those of you who don't know, we do a meet and greet there from 10 till noon every Saturday. So join us down there, have some coffee, and let's talk about building community.
Is that every Saturday?
Every Saturday.
Wow. Oh, I might be able to make more than just once a month then.
Yeah. So anyway, if you keep going down, I think the next one, nope, one more. We'll get back to that. Keep going. I didn't realize how much I posted.
How much you put on?
Yeah, keep going. I'm not seeing. Shouldn't be. There should be at least 8 more posts there.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. It's just taking. You know what? The weather's bad, so it could be.
Yeah, just the internet's being funky because of the wet, because it's wet. And of course, yours shows it out of order of what I posted.
Really?
Yeah. Go back up a little bit. Is that which one? No, that one there. Oh, so begins. Okay, so go back up toward the top and let's look into the feed box. Do you have access to the pinned stuff? You know, this is Facebook all over the place. You never can trust it to do what you want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go back up to the top, because those I posted a week or so ago, and what I'm looking for is one that says a shitty day, and it was posted before this.
I saw that a few days ago. You sure it's not here?
No, that's me thanking Woodland Park Zoo, but we'll talk about that shortly. No, it should have been right in between those two. So it is not showing up for whatever reason.
Let me refresh.
Thank you, Facebook. Okay, now the block party's up top. And then that, okay. Okay, so it just reorganized things, but it's still not showing that one. All right.
Let's see if we can find it now. Maybe it'll pop up.
Okay, so that was today's thing. So that ended up being in there.
This is bizarre.
Yeah, so this is Facebook all over the place. Just rearranging things in orders, but not actually giving you what you want to find.
You wouldn't believe it if we weren't doing it live, right?
So let's talk about that for just a second, because this is the truth about social media sites, all of them. If you look at something, let's say you look at something somewhat negative because you want to see what's being said, Facebook's algorithm's going to all the social media algorithms are going to feed you tons of stuff like that. And you have to be right on top of saying, no, I don't want to see this, or your entire page will be covered with negative stuff. And that's just the way it works. So I literally spend 4 hours a week cleaning my page up or not looking at anything ever. Anyway, so just I guess we'll just talk about Woodland Park Zoo since Facebook's not going to allow us to see the pictures. But it's a good time to understand how this works. Sunday, before we went to Marwan's Bach party, we drove over to Woodland Park Zoo, and Woodland Park Zoo's got a program called ZooDoo, ZOODOO, and yes, it's a composting package. It includes rhinoceros, zebra, giraffe, and hippopotamus. And they do all of the composting. They do it in bins there, and you drive over and you can load up buckets, you can load up bags, you can load up a truck if you want to. They do not load it for you, but they will, they provide it and you can load it up. After my experience on Sunday, first of all, I'll let you all know that I hate driving in Seattle. I think it's taking my life in my hands, and I prefer to do almost anything else. Driving out to Woodland Park Zoo on a Sunday is insanity. And
wait, is it Woodland Park in Tacoma?
No, Woodland Park Zoo is in Seattle, out in the Fremont district.
What's the one in Tacoma?
The Point Defiance Zoo.
Thank you. Okay, I'm with you now.
Okay, so Woodland Park is in the Fremont district of there, and our GPS told us, oh, go here and turn down 49th. Well, you turn down 49th and you realize that it's a two-way street that should be a one-way street, because with people parked on either side, there's room for one car to barely make it down the street. And the car that was on the street was aimed right at us as we're coming off a main street trying to turn on there with nowhere to go. So we had to back up into traffic and go further on. It was just a nightmare. So if you're going to do the ZooDoo program, go during the week or early in the morning. It is not worth trying to take your life in your hands to go there, but they have amazing people there. They are actually talking about doing the same type of thing that we're doing for the animals. They think that they should start growing. They have the land. They think that they should start growing organic produce to feed the animals instead of buying it. So that's kind of a cool thing. And they're very interested in following what we're doing with their ZooDoo. So that ZooDoo is going to go to Matthew's property before we do the sheep mulching. Excuse me. I swallowed a bug. No, I'm kidding. So what we're going to do is take the ZooDoo, 25 gallons of it, and we're going to put it in Matthew's yard, and we're going to move it around, till it in, I'm guessing. And then we're going to cover the whole thing with cardboard, soak down cardboard, and let it spend the entire winter decomposting into a healthy mulch for the yard. And if you see a picture of Matthew's yard in there, you can pull that up to kind of show what the beginning point is. We will be following this along with with pictures of it as it goes, and following the project through. We have a heck of a team pulling together to make this happen. Crystal is working on educating herself on soil health. Matthew's been reading up on permaculture and is providing the yard. Terry and I are going to, I guess, do the manual labor as much as we can. And we're looking for other people, and several I've talked to are interested in becoming part of the work parties to get all of this together. And as we start doing it and we get interest in Matthew's neighborhood, we're hoping to get some of the people there to start getting engaged. And now we're back to the original topic of how to build a community, how to grow a community.
Let me give a plug really quick.
Sure.
So from my point of view, right, as you guys know, you've been following us for more than a year now, right? My brown thumb is trying to turn green. We'll see how it goes. But it's a great opportunity, one, to not only help out, right? If you're bored, you're like, there's nothing for me to do. I'm new into town. I'm part of the military, whatever the case may be. I want to try something new. You can come out with friendly people, join the work crew, and you will learn before you decide to do it for yourself, right? And so you have access to all these experts and great conversation and the saying, the many hands make light work. And it's just a good time. But it's a great way to really decrease the anxiety and the fear of trying to jump in and try to figure it out for yourself, right? You can ask questions and get in there, and you're doing a good thing and you're helping the environment and you're helping each other. That's my plug. So really love it.
Yep. Actually, that and taking it a step further is that we are going to be teaching people how to do this in their own yards, but we're also going to be going to people's yards. Yeah, this is the space up there, the in the upper left hand corner is Matthew measuring out his yard, and that's what it looks like at the moment. We will do more and more pictures of it as we go along so that you can see how it progresses through the sheet mulching. Now, I did ask Matthew if he wanted to do something to make him feel better. So we're going to do a little space somewhere in that yard where we're going to be planting garlic, because garlic has to be planted in October and November
Mm-hmm.
because it processes over the winter time and then starts coming up in spring because it takes a long gestation period. And so he will have something growing in that yard while everything else is mulching.
You have to explain the right side of these pictures here, because
Okay.
when this was explained to me, I was like, "That's awesome."
So Matthew's a solar guy. Matter of fact, if you guys are looking for solar on your homes or want to go solar, Matthew's the guy to talk to because he works with like 9 or 10 companies, and he'll get the right people to you to help you with your what you want to do. And so he has access to tools, and the right side there is shade at different times of year. So he's got satellite images showing shade in his yard at different times of year, so he knows when he plants that what will have the shade and what will have the sun most of the year.
I think that's so awesome.
And
I
so
love
that's
it.
what, and this is our approach. We want to look at everything we can approach. We can. It's a very natural and organic process, but let's use the science that we have to make that a case. And so, say we will be following Matthew's yard as we go. We have another. We're in conversation for another garden to start. We're very near Matthew's actually, and one of the things I've talked to a few people that they've tried to grow a garden and it hasn't really worked well. And that's not even without getting their community involved. And we'll go into depth in that in a moment. But growing a garden in this area, especially with the shipyard and all of the industrial that we have here, you never know what your soil health is going to be. And so we're talking to a gentleman named Kevin. You'll see more information on our page when we get through the conversations, where we can create. Oh, you wanted to see what today's thing is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, how to grow a community. And by the way, I've got a new tagline up there instead of the best hour of the week: embracing humanity every Wednesday.
Okay, I'll have to learn that one. Send it to me so I can put that into my lexicon.
Okay. So, with Kevin and people like Kevin who have the ability to test soil or have soil tested, we'll be able to get a sense of what your soil is doing and figure out ways that we can better help you garden in your area. We will help you. That's the point. During this process, and Matthews is the test case, we will be developing people who have knowledge that will help you organize your efforts, because no one can do it alone. Marwan's right. Many hands make light work, but let's be honest, none of us can get any big things done on our own. We have to do it with other people. And that's just the truth. And as soon as we wrap our head around that, the better we're going to be. So we were talking to somebody.
That point, Mark,
Yeah.
look at that yard, right? You can just see the scale of how big Matthew is and how much work needs to be done to get that yard ready to grow, right?
Yep.
Would you want to do that by yourself or your partner? To have a work crew of 15 or 20 people all laughing and having a good time and knocking it out is great. And then you rotate to the next one and the next one and the next one. And it just catches fire. I love it.
Yeah, and Marwan's going to provide the first pizza.
All right. I'm with that.
Okay. Anyway, so we will be working on Matthew's yard, getting that in, doing the sheet mulching, and then next spring we will be prepping the soil and till and everything else. But it's not going to be your standard tilled garden. This is why I've been putting terminology up on the Facebook page. I wish I could show it to you, but Facebook is going to be obstinate today, um, and every other day. So, what we're going to be talking about is permaculture and companion gardening and regenerative gardening. And they all have this thing in common where you're going to be growing food, and Matthew terms it as a food forest, which I've heard before. And I put a definition up there, but I'm still wrapping my head around. But the point is that there will be food growing, but there will also be companion plants to keep pests away, that support the right kind of pests, that feed the soil and provide more nitrogen to the soil. So this is all planned out so everything supports everything else, as opposed to our traditional agriculture row on row on row, where we spray it with fertilizer, we spray it with poisons. None of that will be happening. And the food will be healthier, and the food will be tasty, and the food will be available to the community.
You know,
And hopefully the community will start stopping by and asking what's going on, and we will get them involved. And this is going back to the original topic here, is how to grow community. Let's say you're going to grow community by growing a garden and
yeah,
showing people the mutual benefit.
yeah.
And that's the plan. I mean, it's not rocket science, it's human. And everything we do focuses on the human, which is why the new tagline is embracing our humanity every Wednesday. Because every time we talk, Marwan and I are talking about ways to embrace humanity, ways to move away from divisiveness and politics and religion and everything else that we take as divisive. And there are plenty of examples, to a point where we embrace our humanity. Let's take care of each other. Let's feed each other. Let's talk about how to come together to change the things that don't work. And with a community, you can do that. But you first have to grow that community. You have to come to a point where the conversations are all around how to better the community. Not socially, but really benefit the community, benefit all of the humans in the community. Because as we say again and again with the Kitsap Resiliency Project, resilient communities thrive. And you have to have a burgeoning community with like growing gardens and eating and breaking bread to become a point where you can become resilient and create capacity to do more.
Would you say that it's fair to say that a healthy and a resilient community can be measured by kind of the cohesiveness of that community? If you don't know each other,
Yeah,
how are you going to have a strong community? Would you agree with that?
absolutely.
Mhm.
And remember that the science of tipping points, you only need somewhere between 16 and 20% of your community to come together to do this. And at some point, other people will join and follow along because you guys are having such a good time. And who doesn't want to be part of a good party, especially when it has good food? So that's the focus. How do you grow a community? By growing a garden.
I'd say it's one way, and it's the way that we're doing now, right? As we go into
It
the fall. But
you know
last year
there
was barbecues, right?
Yeah, and there will be more barbecues because this is also about breaking bread.
Mm-hmm.
Just think about how good a barbecue would be at harvest time. Imagine biting into a hamburger that's grilled with a tomato that's grown in your garden. It tastes really good and has all that beautiful tomato flavor, and it's like dripping down your mouth.
I don't know if I want to see that. However,
But
I
you
am
certainly
looking
want to taste
forward.
it.
Yes. Well, I'm looking forward to having the pride to say I grew that, right?
Yeah, and being part of several gardens that are inviting us over to help them host a party that have grown theirs too.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have the flavor of all of those different things. I'm looking forward to going to somebody's harvest barbecue and then grilling some zucchini and
Mm.
covering it with butter and garlic. That garlic also grown in the garden.
Oh, okay. I got to tell you. So the other
You
day,
have lunch. Sorry.
shout out to Joe. After my back surgery, she came over and made a few meals for me. and one of the recipes um, is it oven roasted zucchini,
Hmm.
and it had Parmesan on it, and it was, the actual grated Parmesan, and it made
Right.
it crispy. I could have eaten a whole pan of zucchini. It was like the most delicious thing.
Yep.
So
And
growing it and eating that, oh man,
yeah.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. And you can put some tomatoes across the top of it and let it roast with the Parmesan on it too to give that little tomatoey flavor, and it almost becomes a sauce as it cooks. I make zucchetti, and I make lasagna with zucchini because I can't eat wheat. Um, I use alternatives. So I get a large zucchini and I use my mandolin and slice it into, here we go, thin slices, about yay big, and lay it in a pan. And then I put sausage and then cheese and sauce, and then I put another layer, and then I do, more cheese and sauce, and maybe I'll put lamb in it sometimes. Maybe I won't, and I just do these layers until this you've got a lasagna, and you stick it in the oven. And it comes out. It's amazing. Now make that where you grow your own zucchini, and you're making your lasagna out of your own zucchini, your own tomatoes that you've made a sauce out of. And several people going, "How do you make a sauce out of tomatoes?" It's easy. And actually, I'm going to put a poll out on Facebook, and we're going to say, do you want me to share recipes and talk about how to take the food from your garden and turn it into something fantastic? Because the next step here is breaking bread together. You've grown the food together, break bread together, build community.
So I had to run in my kitchen really quick because I wanted to ask you, can we make some things like this? And this isn't, I can maybe try to cover up the brand here, but this is a Parmesan and basil olive oil.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so can we do some things like that from growing it
I
in the
make
garden?
I make if we're okay, so Terry and I
Yeah,
are growing
goodness to the
garlic.
bottom.
Yeah, Terry and I are growing garlic. Yeah, we're about to put it in the ground this week, and so when that garlic comes out of the ground next year, we'll have like I think we've got like
Mm.
14. No, we got like 20 bulbs of garlic coming out, which would be about 100 cloves. I will be making garlic and rosemary infused olive oil,
Oh yeah.
and I can tell you how to do that. I've known how to do it for years, and I always have a jar on my spice rack that has garlic and rosemary that I put in the pan when I go to fry something up, and it infuses that garlic and rosemary flavors and smells into whatever I'm cooking. So yeah, I can absolutely show you how to do that, and it should be coming from your garden next year. We'll probably be doing. Well, obviously, I don't have truffles in my garden, but I can do several different herbs and make herb infused olive oil.
So as everyone knows, I'm new, and the other bottle, well, I think we had 3 bottles. And so as it is October 11th, it is time for me to carve the pumpkins for the season. And Layla and I love pumpkin seeds. So we make pumpkin
Hmm.
seeds every year. And so I think this is what we're using this year for to season our pumpkin seeds.
Right, and then you should probably get an extra pumpkin and make some pumpkin soup.
I've never had pumpkin soup.
Yeah, you bake it like you normally do. You cut it in half and put it in the oven face down on a cookie
Kind of like a
sheet and let it
squash.
cook like a squash. And then you put it into a pan, add chicken
Hmm.
broth to it until it's like creamy,
Mm.
and you mix it until it's creamy. And you add I add some jalapeno pepper to it and some bell peppers, and so you get that kind of southwestern thing. A lot of garlic, onion, cumin, and I heat it up into kind of this Spanish soup, and then you can serve it in a hollowed out pumpkin.
Yeah, I guess you could. No heavy cream or anything like that, like
Yeah,
you would
you
do with the
can. Yeah,
squash? A little bit?
yeah.
Okay. So I love butternut squash soup. So if it's anything like that, oh, I'm sold.
So now we're going back to talking about how we grow community,
Mhm.
and we're at the heart of it. We're growing food, we're eating food, we're sharing food. This is how you grow community. The rest of the conversations come naturally. You don't have to wait for a moment to start springing. Well, we need to do that. No, just let it happen naturally. Build relationships over time, and then you can start having conversations after you've all agreed that this is a good thing. We're all benefiting from this. Let's talk about the next thing. And
No,
I'm going to hammer on this. So Marwan, as a county or a city council person running, cover your ears for a minute so I can rant. So I will tell you this, and Marwan's challenged me on this. And I've talked to a lot of water districts. I've talked to the tribe. I've talked to KPUD. No one seems to know what our water tables are doing. Or if somebody does, I haven't been able to find it. I've been looking for 2 years. And I'm pretty good at researching. And they're the economic development people here and the politicians here want to bring in 500 more people onto this peninsula that has 266,000 people. So we don't know what the water is doing. Our infrastructure is substandard in every possible way. The streets are horrible. The wastewater treatment, the way that we're thinking about it is ancient, and we need to improve this. We need to think about power and how we can continue power and how we can continue the internet communications. These are all projects within the Kitsap Resiliency Project. So please go to the Facebook page, the Kitsap Resiliency Project, and connect. And you're only going to see part of what it is, and that's just what it is. But we're trying to fix that by going to Mighty Networks in the near future, so you'll be able to go there and be able to connect with what we're doing. But the question here is, how can we continue, we as a community, allow the politicians and the developers to continue to push an agenda that is downright harmful to us all? They want to have the money, but so that they can fix the infrastructure. But you can't really build until you fix the infrastructure. It's a catch-22. And I get that they have far less money than they have, and fewer people are spending money, so sales tax is an issue. And development is the only way you get reliable income. I understand all of that. But I think a serious conversation has to be had with a lot of people, putting pressure on them to think of different ways to address this and to come up with a real plan instead of these weird 20-year plans that really don't have a lot of teeth in them. So that's my rant for the day. You can unplug your ears.
that wasn't too harsh there.
No, but it is what we need to do, and building community, growing community, developing community together leads us to ask these questions. It is not a political question. It is a human question. And politics is part of what we have to pressure to do this, but it doesn't matter what side of the aisle on, everyone's doing it. They're shortcutting the infrastructure for us. We do not have the ability to create a better infrastructure. We do not have the ability to pressure people who are letting their buildings become substandard. And Marwan and I do work with people who are challenged for housing and other things. And I've seen some horrible, horrible things. There are people all over Bremerton I know of, that house people who are at risk. They don't have a lot of money. They live on a fixed income. They are, barely making it by. They have food stamps, and these landlords are slumlords. They put them in these tiny rooms. They make them walk long distances to use the bathroom. They put all of these weird restrictions on them. No matter what agreements they have, they raise the rent. They make decisions that these people need to be gone if there's any kind of a feeling of challenge. They like to do business in cash so they can't be tracked and traced. And there are bunches of them all over the county, and the people living there are so marginalized it's not funny. Yes, there's a huge homeless issue, but these people are the next line of becoming homeless if this continues to happen. And these are things that we have to look at if we're even marginally human. And we have to hold people's feet to the fire to go do code inspections, to go find where these places are, and to hold their feet to the fire to do the right things. and get the less legitimate, which are the majority of them, as far as I can tell. And there are no studies on this because it's all sub rosa, it's under the radar. Um, you need to hold their feet to the fire. You need to get them out of that business and find places for these people to live that they have some security, because it's about human security, really. It really is. This is all about human security. It's about someone being able to get back on their feet because they have someplace to go. If you're using drugs because life is too hard, and you start using drugs to escape it because you cannot seem to make it out, you're not going to stop using drugs unless you see a light at the end of the tunnel. There has to be a reason. And right now, we just say, oh, they're druggies or they're crazy or whatever, and treat them like that. And the truth, and here's the truth: 46%, 150 million people in this country, are one paycheck away from being that person. And we need
46%.
46%. I've said this so many times, but I'm going to say it so people hear it. 150 million people in the United States, the richest country on the planet, are one paycheck away from being homeless.
Mm.
We scream how wonderful it is that we have 1.3 million new jobs that will not allow someone to live on the paycheck. You have to look at both sides of the coin. Yes, there's a job. Yes, you're making $50 an hour, but do you have 6 friends that you can live with to be able to pay rent? That's the
That's an
reality.
excellent question.
That's the reality.
It's an excellent
And
question.
you can put your head in the sand, but I've always said if you have your head in the sand, you've got your ass in the air, and someone's going to come along and kick it.
That's a saying. Wow.
So we need to come together. And the simplest, gentlest, most human way to do that is growing a garden and breaking bread. And let it lead to the conversations that it'll lead to. Be the example. Be the change.
You know, the story that you were telling earlier, transporting some of the clients and them sharing their experience for their living conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One thing I can share, and I encourage people to please attend the city audit meetings that take place every month because it's important. One, we just found out that folks can ask questions and be brought up, so it's not like a study session where you can't ask questions or make comments. And our own Justin actually had some comments to make at the last one or the previous one, the one before last. And so one of the things that we're looking at is, and it's every third Monday of the month. So it'll be next Monday, the 16th at 5 p.m. I'll try to put the link in the chat for folks. I can also broadcast that out as well. But we're looking at the landlords and making sure that, you know, they have all their documentation and their paperwork is up to date and everything is legal, right? That's the one thing that can be done for those that are renting above board, right? For those that are not renting above board, then those folks would have to, the people that are living there would have to come forward. And I understand that's a double-edged sword because one, it's your home. There's not enough affordable housing stock, and you do need people to make these uh deals with people to have a roof over their head, right? And it's a slippery slope because where does the line meet taking advantage of someone, but then also offering something that they really need, and it's not going to look like the standard of what exists. So I'm well aware of folks that are couch surfing and finding different unique ways to make ends meet and the symbiotic relationship. Like you said, many people are on fixed incomes, both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I need a little bit of extra money and I can't afford first, last, and deposit. I don't have a credit that will allow me to get a place. And so there is this symbiotic relationship, but sometimes that relationship can get out of whack and become, um, you know, overextended on one side, and that person is taking advantage of the situation. So
Absolutely.
it's a tough one.
So, and not all of the stories I have come from people that I drive around. I actually know people that are in these situations. I've helped move one person from one bad situation to one that turned out just to be as bad.
Mark, and
And
that's a
so,
hidden thing in this country that people don't recognize. You know, we're watching this explosion of homelessness and drug addiction and all these other things and mental health. Folks have been suffering in silence trying to hang on, right? Most folks don't go from being housed, going to work, having their career, having a pension and retirement to directly to the streets. There's all these steps in between, right? Downsizing,
mhm.
putting their stuff in storage, staying with a friend, staying with family, burning those relationships. You know, that it's a slope, and folks don't see it, right? And people are in various states of, stress, and then all of a sudden we see it when it kind of just balloons out of control every now and then.
So there is a university study, I think two or three, and I will go back and find them. And next week, I'll make sure Marwan puts them in the chat so people can read them. That say that it takes about $42,000 a year to just be even in this country. And I challenge anybody to do a little bit of math and see if $15 an hour, 40 hours a week, brings you anywhere near that 42,000. And it doesn't. I can answer that question right now. And that's given, that's not even, it's barely considering healthcare and any of the other stuff that you have in that 42,000. Anybody not making that isn't making it. They're going deeper and deeper in debt. And they're getting to a place where they're just going to pull the plug and roll away. And we don't have anything to help catch them.
Mhm.
So think about that. If it takes 42,000 to live now, it's going to take 50,000 in 5 years because we have gone, it never stops getting higher and higher because capitalism is that way. It's about trying to have enough money so that you don't have to worry about ever being that way. The trouble is that the few that have that much money are banking on everybody else continuing to pay them, and that's not going to happen. At some point, the collapse happens, and then everybody's in this boat. So let's come together now and start changing that so that everybody can survive and thrive. And it's going to take us coming together. And we can start that by growing a garden, by planting a seed, by learning how to break bread with our neighbors, how not to get divisive, how to treat each other like human beings. So
Absolutely. In the chat, I just put the link. The first link will take you to the council meetings, and there is a link. I probably should just pull it up so people can see. That's always more helpful than just talking about it, correct?
usually,
I'm going to do that. Boom. All right. So this is the audit committee here. And if you just scroll down, that is the second link that I put in the chat. And again, this is auditing, right? So if you think of some things in the city that needs to take someone should take a look at, definitely bring that to their attention. And oh, by the way, since I'm here, the city of Bremerton does need a CPA. It is vacant, and it is tremendously difficult to find someone who is willing to offer their time for that because that is not a paid position. So if you know anyone that would like to provide that service, the city of Bremerton is looking for that.
a volunteer CPA.
Yes,
Okay.
desperately.
I'm sure everyone sees the irony in that. Okay. Because this is extraordinarily ironic that the city of Bremerton wants you to volunteer to be a CPA for the city who we depend on to provide services for us, who is unable to provide service for us because they don't have enough money to do the services and they are not looking for other ways of dealing with that. They don't have the people to regulate. They don't have the financial wherewithal to do the job that they are required to as a city. And that is why we have so much development and so much high end development, It's not really rocket science. It's the only way they can generate a regular income to try and catch up, which they never will because it's a never ending game.
Which
You
is
have to
my
go ahead.
argument that we have to do something radically different in order for us to slow this debt clock, right? It's
Well,
it's a runaway train that is long past, gone past the stop of not having a catastrophe at the end.
okay, so let's talk about wastewater treatment for a second.
Mhm.
About 7 or 8 years ago, Brownsville, who's county land, spent $60 million to upgrade their plant. And when they upgraded it, they upgraded it enough to be more than the minimum, but not to the maximum. And now we have more and more people in the county, more and more wear on the plant. When there is technology out there that was far cheaper, that does a far better job of wastewater treatment, but we would have to have developers pay for it. So $60 million goes to this instead of 5 plants at 25 million, partially paid or totally paid for by developers who want to develop a land. But developers will tell the politicians that, oh no 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 no, we can't do that. We'll just go somewhere else. And the politicians think we're going to lose this, and you get into this fear of loss of revenue, and you're not willing to hold people's feet to the fire and get the right people in to provide the infrastructure. And this is how the debt cycle happens. You end up going deeper and deeper into the hole because you're giving away the farm to try and get money to save the farm.
Well, and no one wants to be, that person or that body to make the hard decision, which is gonna hurt on the short run, knowing that, hey, that may result in you not being reelected, but you did the right
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? Somebody is gonna catch the hot potato and is gonna have to make the hard decision. And we should have just made the hard decision and pulled the Band-Aid off decades ago.
Yep. And this is something that we have to do. And this can only be done when community comes together and demands it. No one is going to do it without that input. But the
And has
community
an
doesn't even,
understanding.
right. And the community doesn't even understand that this exists.
No.
Okay. Because politicians are sure as hell not going to say anything about it. Oh, yeah, because they won't be elected again. They are constantly dancing in the musical chair game, trying to see who's going to be stuck standing at the end of when the music ends. Because no one wants to say anything, but this is an ever declining situation. And all you need to know to prove this is drive around it and look at how things are being done. Go ahead. You're going to point out the schedule.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, well, here is the schedule: council meetings, committee meetings, and district meetings. So if you're looking for, and I'm just gonna click here on the committee meetings, right? You're looking for the Arts Commission, or again, the Audit Committee, the Planning Commission. These are all really important things, right? Finance, investment, and parking. You may have some expertise or interest here, and your voice needs to be brought to the table, right? And so all this stuff is here. And what I was going to say, Mark, is these things are all done in the light of day, as in they're open to the public to attend.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that typically the public does not attend, so they have no idea what's
And
happening, or very
and
few people do.
and the majority of the public don't even know they exist.
Hmm.
So we have one person in a community who knows about this stuff, or maybe, a city council person who is part of the project who goes and talks to people about all of the things that they can do. And people end up talking to each other about things that need to change and things that are challenging because somebody asked a question and it became part of the conversation. And once you learn how to not to make it political, you can look at it and say, okay, so this is decisions that we have to make, and then we have to help our city council people and the mayors and the commissioners make better decisions. Because without our input, they will not make better decisions. They will be making the decisions they have always made, which we have just talked about being a downward spiral.
Yeah. And I would argue that these meetings coming up are some of the most important city council meetings that we have all year. If you bring your attention here to Monday, October 23rd, budget workshop. Wednesday, October 25th, city council study session. And then on the 26th, the day after, is another budget workshop, right? This is the budget for next year. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to have any kind of input, asking questions, bringing attention to, that is the time to do it. That money gets allocated quick. And then there's always shortages, right? Because there's so many different things that need to be done. So, well, we'll put this off until next year. So,
And if you have a volunteer CPA, they can put together numbers like how much does it cost to manage the homelessness issues the way we're doing it now, and how much would it cost to find a better way to do it that takes less of the city's resources to make it happen.
well, tune into city council tonight because, as folks know, I'm part of Rock the Block. A bunch of nonprofits coming together to try to provide services and get people off the street down on Martin Luther King and Broadway. And we have submitted a budget proposal on how much it has cost us to do just that. And from how I understand it, is if it's under $100,000, the mayor can allocate money to it directly. He doesn't have to get the permission from city council. And so city council, I believe, will be discussing that this evening. So it's great to tune in and do that, right? And I share this stuff out because it's important. Really, we do have the power. We don't know we have the power, and we have to take the power back. But the first part is understanding that we do, and then taking people basically to the trough to drink.
Right. Two things here. One, the flip side of that is the mayor can decide not to allocate the money, which is the other flip side of that. And we have to look for that as well because it is our right and our duty to challenge officials who do not do what we need them to do.
Mhm.
So understand that the other side of this is we need to look at what people are doing and make sure it meets the needs of the community. If it does not meet the needs of the community, we need to come together and challenge that, saying, "Excuse us, no, this doesn't work for us."
Well, and literally, for an example, and really, there's no way for me to take myself out of it, but I can just use it as an example, right? We see that there's an issue in this community where we've been waiting for city council and the mayor to address the issue. They have not, and or the county, right? And so, folks, they're doing things. It's not that they're not doing anything and sitting on their hands. There is the Salvation Army, and there is the county, and there's the Heart Team, and the Real Team, and all these different agencies that are doing the work. And so citizens have come together and said, "Hey, we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to do this." And we have found some synergy and some successes here, right? So now we, the people, are saying, "This is what you should spend money on." And oh, hey, by the way, we're doing it at pennies on the dollar compared to the money that's being allocated right now. So if you allocate it this way, we can do more with less, which is always the way, right?
Mhm.
Do more with less. That's the magic word. And we can switch our attention and say, how can we put that model toward affordable housing, toward whatever it is that we're trying to work on here
Mhm.
in our city, right? And then the conglomerate of people, of citizens, of residents lending their knowledge, skills, and abilities, we can get it done.
Absolutely, and it takes. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the puzzle piece analogy you guys have all heard me talk about before. All of us bring a piece to the puzzle. All of us have knowledge that somebody else doesn't have. And acknowledging the fact that that's true is a first step toward being able to hear solutions that are outside of the common thinking process that
Mhm.
will do a better job. But
Yeah.
we can't get there. We can't hear those solutions until people come to the table and talk by planting seeds and growing a garden, by breaking bread, by learning how to talk to each other, by talking about human needs, by learning what the resources are and what their power is, and helping come together to help people see different pathways and frequently better pathways.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we're at the last word, Marwan. You want to take it tonight?
Sure. Let me just get back to my screen here.
Okay.
These Macs do kind of some things on their own from time to time. The last the last word of the day. Maybe I'll add some political piece to it. As we know, there is things that are happening uh, between Israel and uh, Hamas, and it is emblematic of Ukraine and Russia or conflicts in Africa, things that we have all over the continent. And there's a lot of civil unrest. There's a lot of divisiveness. And next year, we're going to have our presidential election, which is going to cause even more. We can look and say and see that there are countries that are far ahead of us in terms of being further down the road of chaos and despair. We can put on the brakes now and say, we can't go any further than this. We've got to about face and turn around right now. And I just encourage everyone to do that from an individual standpoint. And then collectively, we can all about face and turn back the other direction and choose to do something different and not find ourselves in this way.
Absolutely. Also, just to build on that a little bit, we need to stop this it not done here mentality, because there are also a lot of countries that are far ahead of us in creating social discourse, in creating human support systems. And we need to be able to look at them creating solar and renewable energy systems. We need to be able to accept that some countries do better than we do and learn from them. That's what makes us great, is our ability to learn and adapt and come together.
Well, that's the final word. I'm getting ready to go off on a tangent. Let's leave it there.
Okay.
All right. So everyone, I hope you have enjoyed today's conversation. As always, please do not forget to subscribe. Hit that notification bell so every time we go live, you get an alert, but also share it out, right? This is how the algorithm works. When you share it, when you like it, YouTube and Facebook will suggest it to other people. Let's pull more puzzle pieces to us so we can complete our puzzle. We don't want a 50-piece puzzle. We don't want a 250-piece puzzle. We want a 250 million piece puzzle, right? We want a 400. How many people are in this country? 400 million piece puzzle. But that message has to get out there. We've got to find the like-minded folks so this thing can grow. Okay.
And if you specifically like an episode, hit the thumbs up.
Yep. Hit the thumbs up. And tune in again at 5 p.m. for a study session. This one will be, they're all important, but this one definitely is important as we roll into budget season. For Mark Boatwright Frost, I am Marwan Cameron. This is Tipping Points and Puzzle Pieces. Rose Echo. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.